Remember this conflict that was being mentioned with Black Razor that happens here. Was I
Good,
think this
because I
was,
don't.
huh?
I said good because I don't.
Real quick, I just want to mention, just for people that might not know, we kind of said this, but Black Razor has to feed on a soul every 3 days, and when they don't get fed, there's a conflict.
Yeah, and they get angsty and hungry, and they Vanaya's been trying to
Hangry.
feed him fish and stuff to get
Grab a
it
Snickers.
to stop, and offering it parrots, I think, at one point. But at this point,
Birds,
Black
fish, yeah.
Yeah, Dyler wanted to find a parrot because at one point it was like,
needs to
oh,
talk.
I remember. Yeah, I want next time you feed me a soul, I want something that can talk.
Something
And
that
we're
can
like,
talk. That's right.
parrots,
Right.
parrots. And
We
Jared,
bullied Jared a little bit about this, but
he told us there weren't parrots on Makuna.
But the um at this point, Black Razor was like, "It's time. There's something that can speak. It's walking to you and greeting you." It was like, I can't. I think it had this person had some connection to Orin.
There was a new ship pulled into port, and the captain came out, and
Yes.
That was.
I was like, "Oh, do I recognize that captain?" And Jared's like, "You tell me. Do you recognize the captain?"
That was later.
I recognize the captain.
That was later.
Yeah, that's not now.
That was later because somebody else almost killed that guy with Black Razor.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
that's right.
You're right.
Yeah.
I don't remember this specific
I think
conflict.
this
It must
might
have
just
been.
been like a general, like, I'm gonna try and take you over because I'm hungry, and then I
Yeah.
fought it off.
So yeah, so Paul, when you wrote is fought off, does that mean I won the contest of will, or do you mean y'all beat me up?
You know, great
Because-
scholars of the future have debated this topic on and off for decades now, and they still haven't come to a consensus about it.
I feel like
No,
I feel like if we had a fight, there would be notes about Thane's role in the conflict, like Thane got a crit or Thane did not participate in the combat.
Yeah.
Maybe.
This is
Yeah.
probably Tracy rolled well and did fine.
I will be right back. I must feed cat. Carry on.
Yeah,
So
because
that
there would have been city consequences at that point that end up happening with other ones.
Yeah.
There,
Okay.
I mean, there might not have been if y'all had taken me out fairly quickly, but anyway, that's fine. Moving on.
One thing, well, ScoutsCon actually, that we might just want to mention for posterity for how this thing works. I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but Wave and Whelm and Black Razor, the way that mechanically that they work is every once in a while they'll come up with a thing that's like, hey, I want to do this thing that is kind of core to what I am. And you can go along with it, and that's fine. But if you're like, I'm not going to do that, then you have a conflict, and you have to roll off of just a roll a d20, and whoever gets the higher wins.
Charisma check, I think.
Charisma check.
Charisma, okay, yeah.
And not a
Charisma
save.
check, not save. Yeah.
Orin gets to use wild magic stuff on it though, so I've been pretty lucky as far as like pushing Wave back, and I feel guilty now with. I feel like I've beaten. We'll get into this later, but I feel like I've beaten Wave into submission, especially once I took luck, because every time I level up now, Jared, I was like, do I still have to roll if I don't want to be a cleric? And Jared's like, yes. I'm like, all right. I'm going to use the wild magic ability. It lets me roll twice immediately. Luck point, luck point, luck point, add a d4. And it's just like, averages, I've always been able to just like, as I start to grow stronger and Wave kind of perks up of like God of Roads, I just bend magical energy into them and just like, no, shh, I'm a sorcerer.
But one day you're gonna roll really terribly, and it's gonna win, and you're gonna be like, "Well, now I gotta take
100%. I'm gonna get 5 in a row. That's like 4.
But force of personality is the source for, like core. So it makes sense that that is the thing that sorcerers have a great grasp of is being able to exert their basically will in force of personality contests.
Yeah, mechanically it makes sense. I just feel like I've just beaten Wave into just like, all right, as we move forward.
They're like, I'm used to possessing clerics, and clerics don't usually do this great in these.
And when I haven't possessed clerics, it's been pretty easy to make them clerics, and I don't understand what's going on. But I think at this point, though, had we leveled up yet? Do you note that when we level up, Paul?
Nah, sometimes because I need to remember it, but not always.
I think at the end of White Plume Mountain we leveled up just because it was like a story point. And I think that's the point where I took my first level in cleric, where I had to. It was basically Wave being like, "Hey," I had a one-on-one talk with Jared where Wave was like, I think we can make this work, but I need to see your commitment to the God of Roads. And he was like, mechanically, it means that you'll have to take a level in cleric. And I was like, all right, yeah, we can. No, actually, I think at that point I didn't want to, and it was a roll off, and I lost, and so I had to take my first level in cleric.
1
Nice.
point for
And
Wave.
Yeah, didn't let that happen again. I'm a garbage cleric. Clerics, the number of spells clerics get is based off their wisdom modifier, and mine is 0. So I get 1 spell a day that's not a cantrip. At level like 6 or whatever, 7, whatever we were at, I was not. Orin was not excited about rebuilding everything about who he was, especially after he was told that you need to kill a whole town for it. So
Yeah.
I think we were level 7 at this point because Tyler and Thane started at level 6.
yeah, so I was level 6 sorcerer and level 7 or level 1 cleric.
Rough.
Uh,
Rough.
yeah, so we talk about what flags we need to get, and so I've got merchant, our own, which would be Frost Daggers, the fleet, a pirate one, Roden. I think that was like Roden merchant.
I think there was a flag of like Roden, a
Yeah.
flag of Roden,
Like a
Torchline.
torchline-y flag, I think.
Yeah,
And the Phanafraxis flag.
yeah.
Yes.
I lose
Yeah, Tyler's family crest.
because they were merchants or something, right?
Yep.
And I remember
And we had grand ideas of changing which flag we had, and we'll trick people, and it'll be great.
And remember, even right now, Vane was already like, no, come on.
We fly the Frost Daggers flag at all times.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
make or use our own and show everyone our adventures.
Yep.
It's an opportunity
we
for
need our own
branding,
flag.
damn it.
We need our own flag. Vane's like, yes, a merchant flag. What? A fleet flag? No, a pirate flag. No, Emmett's flag. Just our flag. Just our brand. I think one thing that helped though is we did eventually explain to Vane like, this might not have been until we were on the water, but like, if we just fly our own flag and it's not part of a known fleet or merchant trading company, like you're just a pirate.
Yeah, they'll assume.
Just assume that you're a pirate.
Yeah, I think that is the only thing that made him tone it down, but it doesn't seem like that would have made him less passionate about the idea, just more understanding, but still really upset when we change flags.
Orin tries to fly it as often as possible.
Thane, hearing that there was a surgeon down in the southern town, is like, why didn't you guys get a surgeon? So he goes on a 3-day each way trek down to the town to get the other surgeon. And I don't have an actual note in here, but I think I also failed to get a surgeon. I think what happened.
I mean,
No, this is where we learned that they were very upset because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
went all the way down there, and they were like, "No, you're part of that crew that stole the people that are really important in this town."
You're the ones recruiting our enchanters and our teachers and our. How dare you get the hell out? So Thane has a very terrible 6-day journey.
I love also I want it noted on the record my admiration for Paul's role playing, where because Thane wanted a surgeon so bad that Paul's like, I'm gonna take 6 days of y'all doing stuff, and I'm gonna travel on a road to go and get a surgeon. Yeah, that was we got a lot done while Thane was gone.
Wow, that's a rude way to say
Not because Thane was gone, but while
Finally a productive day. Thane's gone.
Aw.
No masks, no secrets.
Well, it does say in the next paragraph that Dailu gets a nat 20 bluff check against someone, so
But at least
don't
that's a
worry.
secret that Orin doesn't know is there.
Yeah, at least there's still one liar left in this party. Thank God.
So yeah, our repairs, because of all the people that we got, repairs are going to take less on the ship. Dailu talks to the mayor of Koyakuba.
Yes.
This is to negotiate the Leeks deal, and this is where she rolls the nat 20. Go ahead if you got something.
Yeah. The dude was like, I absolutely don't believe. I don't remember what this bluff check was for. I think it was also Orin was there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we basically went in there just like to strong arm this guy. We had no plan of like negotiating. We like
Yeah.
negotiate a deal. We were just like, we're gonna make him pay money.
Yeah, I don't remember if the nat 20 bluff check was something to do with like, oh, you'll get this out of the deal if you say yes, or if it was just I'll kill you if you don't. I think that was later.
I think it was something to do with like
That was definitely later.
I think it had something to do with our presentation of what the other mayor had said and was willing to do.
Yes.
We're kind of just like, if we can get them together, like worst case, we need the food delivered to this town, and so if we can just get them together, and
Yeah.
so we lied about like what he was willing to do for the deal.
Yeah, and I remember, and I think it was at this point that Dudley read his mind, or someone's mind, and learned that there was like a darker thing with Barksteed that he had done in his past.
Yeah, that
that
he
was
had
woven into this in some
probably
fashion.
attained this role by murdering the previous
That's what it was.
broker of Koyakuba. So we're like, this guy sucks. And he. Oh, and I think while she was reading his mind, she also got the impression that he had no intention of honoring this. Like he wanted Broker Wheeler to come to Koyakuba, and Broker Wheeler was probably gonna die here. And so he was like, if you can get Broker Wheeler to come here and negotiate the price, sure. Dial, because she had read his mind, was like, okay. And we started putting together like plans for how to pressure him into this so he couldn't back out of it or murder Wheeler. And Dial's number one plan, which I'm actually very surprised she came up with that without Thane, because this has real Dailu and Thane energy. But Dailu's good plan was to create a misinformation campaign that Barksteed was really hype about getting them delicious fresh vegetables again. And that he loves Leeks, and that he's going to feed the town, and they're going to have amazing food again like they haven't since the old broker died mysteriously. So that if he then went back on the deal, the town would pressure him back into it and hate him for not providing their vegetables. And she made T-shirts.
Love it. So good.
I can't believe we got to this one on the day I wasn't wearing mine. But yeah, we all have Barksteed Loves Leaks shirts.
And then I recall, I don't remember if this was
we made those.
Yes.
Too.
I don't remember if this was now or later, but I remember rolling extremely poorly to convince people to put any kind of pressure on Barksteed at all, or wear the T-shirts that she made.
Or it's still there to Barksteed, though. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was happening. Sato wins a battle with Whelm, so she can put it down. But if she ever
that should say picks it up.
If she ever picks it up again, then we'll start this over again. This was because we were now doing most of our things in daylight, and Whelm was giving Sato disadvantage on everything, and it sucked.
Persuasion check at disadvantage because you're holding a hammer.
So yeah, the group sees some fire to the north, pretty far away.
I misread that as sets fire to the north.
I made the same misreading of it the first time I saw it, and I was like, we did what?
Why did we do that?
And I know we went past this really briefly earlier, But I do want to call out again the fireball that hit the ship very beginning that made us wait this long and have to go through so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fireball that struck the
That's
entirety
fair.
of the ship.
We haven't even started going through it yet.
Yeah,
It's gonna-
clearly he will learn his lesson and that will never happen again. That's what always happens in our group. People learn their lesson and they never do it again.
Orin learned a lot about what happens to a ship when it's hit with a fireball, and he's put it to lots of use. That information was stored away.
That's actually true and fair.
You know, when you put it that way.
Have I fireballed our ship since then on purpose?
I think when it was, I think maybe once, but I
On
think
purpose.
On purpose.
Well,
If you add enough qualifiers, the answer's always going to be no.
That you
On
just described
purpose.
Orin Ironhelm.
on purpose when I wasn't blue.
hmm.
Yeah, on a Tuesday.
Vane and Dailu head north towards the fiery lights. I kind of remember this. This was
Yeah.
Yep.
This
this
was,
could have been a great buddy moment, and I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was a lot of
Yeah.
the thing that
This was, I think, while Thane was still in the other town.
Yes.
because I remember us having to preview on it later. After an hour, the lights are still about as far away as they ever were, and they
Mhm.
seem larger than torches, and there are 6 of them. Might be fire elementals or things from Abyss, menacing. And they looked like they were going towards Nagihara, but after a bit started heading perpendicular towards just some of the many ruins all over Mekuna. Sidebar, I just remember this happening a lot. We were so convinced that there were trees, that there had to be trees wherever we were. We kept describing, like, I'm going to go behind some trees to have a private conversation. Or, like, can I
Yeah.
see anything through the... And Jared just kept being like, there are no trees. It's a blasted wasteland. There are no trees.
Yeah.
Nothing grows here.
I know,
Everything is dead. No trees.
for some reason, I too continued to just have it in my head that, of course, there are trees. Of course, there's forest.
Just a little outcrop somewhere.
I think I pictured it like, I was like, okay, cool, the continent's a blasted wasteland, but as we get close to the ocean and water, life returns. And Jared's like, no, it's like gray, this place sucks. Like, it's gray sand and fishing huts, and they don't have vegetables. Like, this isn't a happy place.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
no,
I
the
also
doctor has a name. Sorry.
Yeah, we get to the doctor stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying so it can't be our headcanon. Well, I'll just delete this page of notes and we won't ever have it, and then I'll rip up the real one, and then we won't have that one. Headcanon accepted.
I won't even say that name aloud.
Well, his
It's
name
not
is
real.
My
Stitcher
name is
Jotai.
Stitcher.
Or Jotai
Oh,
Stitcher.
okay. Yeah.
Or
Oh.
Stitcher is what they call him. Like, it's whatever.
It's his ocean nickname.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm making people call me Featherbeard, but
Fair.
the first note, I feel like we need to play this up a bit more, but like Black Razor is starving, like all
Yeah,
the time.
I think that I mean, we haven't. We have described the events, but we haven't really gone into exactly how I think genuinely concerned and how much of our energy is consumed by being concerned about Black Razor
yep.
at this time.
And
Like, we've referenced having some arguments between the rest of the party and Stylu and Thane about the ethics of feeding the souls of bad people to the
Oh.
sword.
Resource management.
yeah, and the arguments are pretty cyclical.
Yes.
Because I think the party had mostly landed on their stances on the use of Black Razor. And
Yeah,
I
nobody
think,
was budging.
Yeah.
But it and Vinaya throughout this whole time is fairly insistent upon she will be able to learn to control it and to exert her will over it. And when Black Razor gets hungry this upcoming time, or hangry, I can't believe that I've only just now settled on calling it that. I really cannot believe that has not arisen until now. But anyway, Vinaya knows it's the third day in the endless Black Razor cycle, and goes out to the beach in the night, in the dark, without telling the others, in a momentous act of hubris. And
to get a fish, right? To like feed.
no, I don't. No, I don't. I mean, I think we had done the fish once before, and Black Razor was like, "Well, I'm not going to let it slide again." And I think this time I was like, "Well, I'm gonna succeed in this check."
Well, I think going off this note, I think it was kind of like a Vinaya. You're out by yourself, and like
Right.
where you look down and Black Razor is in your hand.
Yes,
And you didn't unsheath it. Like you're walking, and suddenly you realize that you're holding the sword.
that is correct.
And then you have the conversation with Black Razor, and then you have the.
I am able to have conversations with Black Razor without wielding them,
Yeah.
like without holding them. So, but yeah. Anyway, at this time, yes, Black Razor is then in my hand, and the conflict happens. Vinaya blacks out. Yeah,
I think that's all we got, and then we cut back to
yes.
Dr. Jotai.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, so this was where Thane finally gets to the southern town, talks to the surgeon. She's annoyed at or either she or the town was annoyed at Vane and Orin taking their best caster, and didn't want to join. And I have a note that she basically threatened me, so I'm like, what the hell did they do here? while Thane and Dailu were up north recruiting all of the best sailors and captains, or officers.
Making friends with everybody.
Yeah. And so now it says that Vinaya tells people, but not Thane, that she killed a fisherman with Black Razor, so I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yeah, so when Vinaya wakes up, she is on the beach, and there is a husk of a fisherwoman next to her. It's pretty obvious what has happened. Vinaya returns to you guys to say what happened, and the town.
We were staying at the tavern at this point because the ship was still being worked on.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sad about this note about Marinto crying.
Me too. I know.
Yeah, so
because you guys had been having a lot of interactions at this point, and you were talking up a lot about. Right,
I can control.
I mean, it wasn't like about the religion that Vinaya has, about the reclining shepherd, and kind of like the role of a paladin and like what you're supposed to do. And Marinto was kind of holding Vinaya up as like this beacon of like good. And Vinaya comes back and admits that they've sucked the soul out of something with a sword and destroyed it.
But Vinaya has murdered someone, and she absolutely cops to this. Because I mean, her failure to succeed in that contest of wills is what killed this fisherwoman, and that's it. In her mind, that's murder. Let's see.
I remember.
I'm reading ahead, but yeah, the townsfolk finds the body of this woman, and they're like, well, we know we know who has a sword that does that to people.
I remember Dailu being immediately like, I know how the rest of you feel about lies and lying. We are not telling the town about this. We are not telling any about this. It's time for damage control and PR. And it's like, there are torches and pitchforks outside already.
Yeah.
Too late for that.
Nonchalantly, just like, hey, I just got here, but there's an angry mob. I also like how Paul says People suggest letting Vinaya kill bad people with it, but
Two
point,
specific
that's
people.
only Dailu
Well,
and
because
maybe
Right.
Fane's
Sachi.
gone.
Yeah.
Fane's gone at this point. But yeah,
And, like,
Dailu's like, let's kill the bad people with the soul stealing sword, and people are like, nah.
well, yeah, Vane and Vinaya are like, no, and Orin is in the ambivalent, like, I mean, let's not lead with that, but let's not take it off the table.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's
But
a
yeah.
mob ready to. Oh, there's also a note that says there were people on the sailors on the boat on the witch's curse, which is our
Right.
boat, that were turned into goo.
When we
Turn
fought
into
them,
goo,
I think that
no.
meant that the captain of the other ship is the one that Vinaya
Oh,
accidentally stole
yeah.
the soul of. So
Okay.
everyone has seen this happen before.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, but Vinaya surrenders. Like she without weapons or armor, she walks out and hands up and she surrenders and she I
That's the
obviously
cool
can't remember the exact words, but she says, "Yep, it was my mistake that led to this," and she lets them put her in jail.
Yep. This is a really good line here at the bottom that you deliver also.
Yeah. Dailu
Boy, oh
reads
boy.
Barksteed's mind and realizes that he is really hype about Black Razor and wants that sword
Yeesh.
and is scheming about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so like Barksteed's office is in the same building as the jail.
And
But
that
I can't remember if I do the Misty Step
I think that was later.
is
before
later
or yes,
because
it's later.
the
Okay.
like
So
you get
this
taken to the
is as
jail.
this is as Barksteed is putting me in jail for being a murderer. And yeah, because we've worked out at this point that he pretty obviously murdered the previous broker in order to take over the job. So Vinaya shoots back, "Same to you," as I hear.
It's really good. And then the rest of the group inside of the tavern basically all leave. They all just dash out the windows or jump or pop and teleport out, except for Vane, who stays with the mob practicing his knots. I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
They were like, we don't need to arrest this man.
And that's what Barksteed says he needs to see the remaining three of us who aren't practicing knot tying in his office. It says final deal, we have to stay on the ship, but this was a lot of back and forth of Barksteed kind of trying to push on us of like, you're in trouble, and us being like, we could kill you on accident right now, and like no one would care, and nothing could stop us. All of us are that powerful. And
Mhm.
pretty quickly, he's like, all right, well, you have to stay on your ship during the night. You cannot sleep in the tavern anymore. He agrees to make the vegetable deal without any more fuss. Which will
I
get us the food we
remember
need so that we can leave.
I remember Dailu telling him basically like, your fate and the fate of Broker Wheeler are linked together. And if anything happens to him, it's weird. You also die. On my hand. Like, so don't fuck with this. It's weird. If we don't get the food we need, or if anything happens to him, you die. Good characters, good people, good aligned characters. It's a good thing Vane was not there for that conversation.
Yeah,
Huh?
I really loved it because like there was a moment in the heat of those debates where things were getting pretty dark. We did a quick cut to Vane. He's like, "Do any of you know how to tie a four-square knot?"
Like, it was just Jared checking in, like, what's Vane doing? Like, are you breaking her out? And he's just like, just more knots. Just sick.
Yeah, so Hank, did the Misty Step bit get
That's in between the word need and Vinaya cannot. That's where that would have happened.
I can't.
So
I see. Yeah, okay. So right, so there's some point in that discussion between Vinaya being put in the jail cell and the rest of you convincing Barksteed to slapstick to the deal in which Benaya is looking out the cell window and waiting for the crowds to disperse, and then casting Misty Step to
Yeah.
quietly leave the cell, walking around, walking into the front of the building, i.e., Barksteed's office.
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember it was specifically like, it was when Diley was like, or Diley and Orin were basically putting down the pressure at full force, like, we can kill you at any moment. And Barkshee's like, ha! I have one of you in jail right now!
All right, and then
You're like, hey, so
she
about that.
walks. Oh yeah.
It was the ultimate power move too, of like, I let you arrest me so that I could show you that you can't arrest me. And that we agreed that like Vinaya won't leave the ship anymore.
Yeah.
Or we'll kill
Wink.
you. Like those are your options.
Yeah. We had enough of Broker Barksteed at this point. And I feel, in fairness, we had just committed a murder in his town with a death sword. But we were also over this man at this point. We're like, we have had to negotiate around you. I remember Dailu and Orin having a series of conversations where Orin was not opposed to us killing Barksteed. He wasn't like fully against it, but anytime a conflict emerged, I was like, so we kill him. And Orin was like, well, okay. Like, roll this back. Let's try a different thing. And I was like, okay, but
Orin is chaotic good, so it was always on the table, but it always sounded messy. Like that was the motivation of like, definitely, yeah, we could do that. And that would fix our problem, but it would cause a couple more problems. Let's see if we can pull it back.
yeah. Tyler is a different kind of chaotic good. That is the chaotic good of, I have identified a solution that will ultimately remove a bad man from society.
Job done.
Yeah.
The next to this star here, which says there's a group of children outside the ship. Worth noting that the only people in town that would talk to us after that were the kids. They seemed to think we were pretty cool. All of the adults wouldn't look at us. Like we went to the tavern and like we were served, but only I think mainly because we had turned 2 people into goo, and people were a little bit afraid, and we weren't like buddy with the town anymore.